everybody, and welcome to the first Talk Taboo to Me podcast featuring myself, Krista Reed, and the one and the only fantastic, fabulous, spectacular Tracie Ibrahim.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, my sister from another mister, my brother from another mother, because cultural norms and whatever does not exist here, because this is all about taboo. Tracie is going to be the very first guest, and I could not be more honored than to interview her, because I love her so much. Now, Tracie. Thank you. All right, Tracie, we'll just begin tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll just go from there.
All right. Well, first and foremost, I am a punk rock person at heart, and that is the number one most important thing to know. Punk rock since a long time ago. We won't say the year, but it was in the 80s.
I love it.
It may or may not have been approximately in the mid-80s. All right. So there's that. I'm mom to fabulous children who are no longer children. They're all adults. Let's see, what else? I am absolutely, to my core, just an advocate for mental health, to break stigmas, to bring awareness, to make access possible. And my kind of specialty areas is I'm a certified sex therapist, a licensed marriage and family therapist. You can see why marriage and sex and relationships and sex, that might go together pretty well. And I also specialize in treating OCD and anxiety and related disorders and depression and all of those things when they become mixed, mashed. So yeah, lots of different fun things.
Love it. Love it. Tracie's a queen. And recently I had corrected somebody. Well, somebody had corrected me. And I was like, oh, I think I want to be a king. Because they're always like rated higher or ranked higher. And somebody was like, no, think of chess. The queen is always the best. So Tracie, the queen, right here. So Tracie, this is all about taboo. So what is it about like, how did you get started into saying, you know what? Taboo stuff is important to talk about. So how did you get started on that?
You know, I got started in that by not feeling comfortable. So I was like the opposite of a comfortable person with taboo. So having sort of grown up, I had a lot of things. We won't discuss my entire childhood because we would be here for years.
We don't have 7 hours. We discussed that beforehand.
We don't have 7 hours. So fast forward all the way to I'm in my undergraduate in psychology. I was doing a double psychology, sociology.
Dang.
And I knew I was going to be a therapist. It was between therapist and lawyer. So I figured I'd be a therapist first and then think about it. So yes, a therapist. I was knowing that I wanted to work in things that were difficult that other people didn't do. And at first I was thinking more because of like in a business way, if you go out and you just do a few things that everybody does, that doesn't really make sense. And I wanted to be able to have some sort of business I could start and survive at. So one of my professors had told me, oh, well, the way that people do that is they specialize. And I was like, specialize. So I was like, I'm going to specialize in children and adolescents because I had struggled as an adolescent and child. And I'm like, I will save those people. And because I had a million terrible therapists as a child and an adolescent, I wanted to go out and give people a different experience. So I was wanting to specialize in that. And some random class I took, it was on sociology class, and we were discussing some different things. And some kind of sexual topics came up, and I was like cringing. And then I checked myself and was like, if you're going to cringe at sexual things, how will you do therapy with humans who are going to talk about that stuff? Like, you're going to be like, oh, you know. And so I thought maybe I should just take a couple of classes that involve sexuality so that I can feel a little more comfortable.
I absolutely love that. Would you say that maybe that class was kind of that specific moment for you that seemed to make you feel like different, or maybe even change your feeling just about, let's just say, taboo topics in general?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just really realized, like, just even in my life, in my personal life, in my brain, I was very uncomfortable with anything to do with sexuality. And kind of as an example, my first introduction obviously was like everyone else, which is at school. So in elementary, in first grade, some boy drew a little penis on a piece of paper and he passed this note to me and I saw it and I was just like, I think that I had a general concept of a penis, but I didn't realize that there were also testicles. So I didn't really know what he was drawing there. And teacher intercepted the note, by the way. So we went to the office and it was like a situation. And then the next thing that I heard was from a girl when I was in about third grade and we were hiding in her living room behind this chair. And she was like, there's a bunch of names for penises. Like what? And then she starts telling me all these different names. She's like Dick, Wiener, like she just giving me this list of names and I was so uncomfortable. So that was my next version of what I knew. And then my mom left a book on my bed and I don't know what it was called, but I remember the page. It said, when a man and a woman lay close together in bed. Then you flip the page, they have a baby. That's it. And so then I was like, I don't know why I knew at that point, but I knew sex made babies, but that just was very confusing. Yeah. And then all the way fast forward to now I'm in college and I'm a young adult and I'm at my grandma's house. This is the last one. And I'm watching TV, just the middle of nowhere. She's just doing dishes. She's like, Tracie, yes, I hope you're being careful. And I was like, about what? Like, I'm watching TV. How careful do I need to be while watching TV? She's just like, you know what I mean? I was like racking my brain. I have no idea what we could be talking about. And she goes, a little thing called sex. Mind you, she's doing dishes with her back to me. She couldn't even say the word. She spelled it. And of course, I melted into the ground. I was like, oh my God, Grandma, like, stop. Yes, whatever. Like, don't say that. So.
What an odd time to bring it up. Like,
right?
You know, while I'm cleaning this plate, I should probably tell my granddaughter to be careful. Yes, I know when I'm washing dishes, that's all I'm thinking about. So it makes total sense as to why your grandma brought that up at that moment.
Yeah, I thought it was weird. Hey,
strange.
We might pause here for one moment, by the way.
Okay.
You're going in and out of blurry.
No.
Yes.
How am I now? Is it any better?
It's blurry.
It's just blurry.
It's been happening on and off, but I was like, let me see if it like is going to be clear enough we could live with it. It's too blurry too often, I think.
Okay, this might just be a situation where this is going to have to be an episode where we are audio and not video yet, maybe.
Maybe that's a good idea. We have that one. Yep, that's going to work. Because otherwise it's too ridiculous.
Yeah, okay. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and obviously, like, we could cut that out.
Part, okay. And then you were saying what a weird place to bring it up.
Yeah, what an absolute bizarre place to just decide, sex.
Yeah.
This is the time to talk about it.
Her back was to me, so there was... Oh my God, no, I forgot. There was one more piece of advice that came from her it kind of broke my heart because by the time she told me this, I was a sex therapist already, and I just, thank God I already knew the answers. But here's what she told me, which really shows what an oppressed sexual sort of upbringing and life she had. She said, I need to tell you something. We're sitting and having coffee, but she's looking at a magazine so we don't have to make eye contact. And she says, but she's always trying to love me. I know she's just trying to be helpful. She says, do you know, I want you to know that when you're married, when you have a husband, you always have to pretend to enjoy sex. You say like, you know what? That was good. So that way he doesn't cheat on you. Yep. And I was like,
how you do it. Okay.
Yep. I was like, okay. And like, then I knew like that there was more to life than that for, I know that most of us were not raised as empowered sexual women or in a positive fashion. So
no,
just like further sort of drove my passion. Like I had just become a sex therapist and I heard that and I was like, this is what I need to get out there for. I need to help people not feel this way.
I love that so much. And just, just being super real, I feel like anybody dated or born before 1995 grew up probably, especially females, very sexually repressed. having no idea. And can you bet, like, that's so bonkers to me that this is how to make a man not cheat. Because let's be real, 40s, 50s, 60s existed. Significant cheating happened. I mean, literally Kennedy. Hello. It's absolutely bonkers. Okay, so why do you think that this topic, sex, is considered taboo in society?
I think it is because probably, well, there's a lot of reasons, right? Let's just say there's a lot of reasons. But in American culture, it is more taboo than even in some other cultures. And in other, there are plenty of cultures where it's more embraced, nudity is embraced in parts of like Europe, and you can get some pretty interesting sex related things out of like these little machines in parts of Japan. So it's American culture. And I think underlying a lot of American culture is a variety of religions. And those religions, and I'm not blaming religion or religion hating, I'm just saying that it's not promoted to be having sex, and there's a lot about not cheating and not having sex and not doing this, and there's a lot of shame built around it. So if it's shameful, but then you come to society, and society is saying, for males tend to be high-fived for sexual activity, and women tend to be degraded, Did you get raped? What were you wearing? That kind of thing.
Absolutely. I literally saw this. And I wish I could remember who it was, because she's absolutely fantastic. She's a model, and she is proud lesbian. And I actually just shared it on my Instagram not too long ago, because she said, what females wear is a problem, then why don't we hear more lesbians having the same problem as men?
Yes, what a good point. So true.
I was just like literally my brain exploded. I was like, damn, that is such a beautiful point. And obviously neither one of us is here to shame any genders or anything like that. I mean, I have four brothers. I have two sons. Like, no. It's just the norms that have been presented. And I think about how my own brothers have been taught versus how I've been taught. It literally was, you can't do anything because you're female. And hearing like what you said, like we weren't even taught pleasure.
No, that would be wild.
Right? How
You're here to make
dare.
Baby. Okay.
Yeah. We're baby machine. Baby machine.
That's what we do. All we do is have babies and cook.
Yeah. Which I've done 2 babies, and I'm not a great cook, so I'm not doing my female duties, I guess. So,
sorry.
Right. Have you ever, this is a good question. I'm telling myself this is a good question. Have you ever censored yourself because of fear or shame?
1,000% of most of my upbringing. Absolutely. Not in the past couple of decades since really being empowered. I'm like the person you'll find speaking out about things, like it's every day. Like we're talking about the flavor of ice cream. I might be talking about sex toys. Whatever it is, I'm fine with it now. But yeah, before censor, oh my gosh, whatever it was like, it could be something like, oh, do you like what do you like? Do you like certain things about sex, or you want to do certain things sexually? And it would be like, oh my God, no, I don't want to do anything. Absolutely not. Because you don't know what's going to come back at you to say something like that. So yeah, let alone does anyone have discussions with you about whatever orgasms or how to have them, or that you should try to have them if you can, if you want, I should say. Maybe you don't want to, but yeah. What's
interesting is when I asked this question, my brain immediately was thinking about just like censoring self in public. But you're right, censoring yourself in a very intimate relationship. And I mean, boy, I could see a lot of people listening to this saying, yep, I totally resonate with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get a lot of that in as far as clients coming in for sex therapy. Just I've done so much around like desire disorders, or just women not knowing how their body works, not feeling empowered to speak up for things they want or don't want. That's a big one too. Like that you can say no to even the person who you've been partnered with for 50 years. It doesn't matter. You get to, just the thought that you own your own body, you own your own choices, you own and also that you should enjoy life in whatever ways. And then to be made aware that there are ways because you didn't even know.
Absolutely. I'm curious, what is something, just going back to because we could, I mean, let's be real, we're going to have so many episodes specifically about sex because there's so many aspects, not just about, man-woman intercourse. There's so many things that our society and just religions and norms and cultures, and there's so much taboo in regards to that. So we could talk about that for 7 hours, but again, we just don't have that time.
We really do.
So back on TRACIE. So what is something that you would say people misunderstand about you?
Oh, goodness. It's like so many things. I think so. For one, I think maybe some people might think that I'm some sort of like super perverted person who wants to talk about sex all day. I think I get some of that. So get people who think because I'm a sex therapist, that means you can call me on the phone and try and involve me in your fetish. It's actually real therapy, like real actual therapy with a licensed therapist. It's not like a kink service. That happens sometimes. I don't love that. I've named a couple of people in my phone heavy breather just so I know not to answer. I mean, usually I block people if it happens more than once, but this is how I don't pick up twice.
Oh my gosh.
I've even had people come into like when I had a physical private practice and try and be like, hey, what about, and I'm like, will you do your session without shoes on? And I'm like, this isn't about my feet. Like, do you have an issue that you want to talk about? Like, if you want to talk about foot fetishes, we will, but my feet won't be part of your fetish. Like, this isn't a fetish scene here. And I specialize in fetishes and the LGBT community and kink and all those things, but that's my therapy practice. But I also separately, and I think this is where people sometimes, when I was even thinking of advertising originally, I specialize still in children and adolescents who are depressed, who have OCD. And people are like, how do you do like sex and children together? I'm like, it's not the same puzzle. It's not the same situation. And also, sex therapy, I can cover things like sexual abuse and sexual trauma. And they're like, oh, okay, I hadn't thought of that. I'm like, you're the pervert putting those two together.
Well, and just like you said, like that little girl in your classroom was just like, hey, there's a whole bunch of names for penis. Our kids are talking about it. And It's not like you are saying, hey, little girl, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of pictures of penises, and then I'm also going to tell you how to perform fellatio. And no, you are talking about stuff that biologically and psychologically are normal.
That's right. And
so you don't grow up to be Krista and TRACIE and have all this confusing moments in your years and have to learn.
Exactly.
And unlearn.
Research shows that if we raise kids using the actual biologically, anatomically correct names for things, that they're actually going to feel a lot more empowered, but also knowledgeable. And if we just have real conversations. But when you're uncomfortable, you have to work with your own discomfort first. It's not that I enjoyed having conversations with my kids as they were growing up. I was like, just like probably most people, just kind of like melting inside because I was like, nobody wants to talk about it. Somebody does. I don't want to, but I was like, okay, I'm going to talk because it's responsible, even if I'm uncomfortable. And it's funny because I'm not uncomfortable talking to anybody else, but it's my own kids. I'm like, I don't know about that.
I get it.
It's weird.
I get it. I had a brief conversation with one of my kids the other day about masturbation, and he was just kind of like, Mom, this is too much. I was like, I'm just letting you know, if you ever have questions, you are always welcome to talk to myself or your dad about it, because you're just trying to normalize it. Even as comfortable as you and I are about talking about this kind of stuff, obviously we're having a podcast on taboo. It doesn't mean that our kids are going to be like, yeah, cool, Mom. Let's talk about rubbing penises, and let's talk about vaginas.
Yeah.
And no. They're still going through that biological level of embarrassment, and that's totally normal.
Right. That's right. Yep.
All right, so now I'm wondering, either with this or I guess pretty much anything, have you ever said something out loud and then maybe kind of later retracted and thought, like, maybe I shouldn't have said that?
Oh, gosh. I'm like, which time? Yes, I can't think. I'm like, all the time. Okay, so one of the, like, things I had to work on in life was a filter, because I would just say things out loud that maybe I didn't always need to be said, or I don't know, maybe just not everybody in the room sort of appreciated what was being said. I can't think of any. I'm like trying to think of anything. I feel like it's a part of my everyday life, so I don't register it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Actually, maybe when I was with a friend at lunch, okay, yeah, this. And I don't know if it's good or bad. I probably
Was it me? Was I that friend?
I was like, you were not, because we would have just laughed and kept walking.
That's true.
I was having lunch at a restaurant with a friend, and we were talking, and we were talking about sex things, and we were talking about a variety of different kinds of like dildos and vibrators and different things. And I'm a loud person by nature, so I probably was loud. And she was talking, and then she's like, "Look how many people are staring at us." And I was like, "What?" And I like look around. We were in a booth, and like there were a lot of booths around us, a lot of people looking. And the only reason, like normally I would say it's fine. The only reason I wanted to retract it is that they were mostly senior citizen people. This was probably like senior lunch hour, and they looked pretty disgusted. And not that I want to protect them from hearing it, but like probably I could have piped down, like had a normal volume conversation, but I'm loud. And sometimes I don't consider, like, I'm glad there weren't like small children around, for instance. So that was several years ago. Like I have figured out for the most part how to keep it in. Like look around first, basically. Know your audience. Keep it down, because the seniors don't want to know about the latest sex toys, apparently. Some do, by the way. Lots of sexual seniors. Not saying that. I'm talking about at this restaurant at this time, I was getting looks that were not kind. Yeah.
It makes me think of a Parks and Rec episode. Did you ever get into that show at all?
You know what? I watched some of the episodes.
There's an episode where Amy Poehler's character, Leslie Knope, has to do sex education with the seniors because there's a problem because of STDs.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That's actually legitimate. I worked in a geriatric psychiatric unit, and there was a lot of sex happening. And I ended up going to get a lot of condoms and creating a system for them to be able to first sit and make sure that there was consent, and that it was like everybody knew what was happening, and then they would get their protections. And then we actually used the room that typically was for seclusion, and we would put a piece of paper over the window so that people could have sex in there. And these were all geriatric people. Just saying, geriatric people have sex. Don't think that I said they didn't have sex. The people at that restaurant were not having sex, I assure you.
Well, and it could still be because it's still so taboo that maybe it was like, I can't believe this is talked about in public. This is a very private matter. Whatever happens behind closed doors, it stays behind closed doors. Maybe it was because you were so open about it.
That's true. They were like, who is this slut, basically? I thought that was the look. That was the look that I got. Like, what is happening to her?
Little do you know, you were probably in a room full of swingers. Let's be real. I know that sounds funny, but that's not an abnormal thing in that community.
That's so true. That's so true, actually. Yeah. A lot. There's a lot of that.
If you could cancel one social norm, what would it be and why?
That's such a great question. If I could cancel one social norm, you know what I would do? I would level the playing ground where traditionally male people are rewarded and high-fived and encouraged to go out there and to be sexual and to enjoy themselves. I would probably want to knock that down, not knock it down, but maybe make an equal for everybody, everybody, males and females and genderless people and everybody in between, that everybody was just there like, you know what? Sex is good. It's healthy. And there's a way to do it that everybody can be safe, sane, consensual, and have fun and enjoy yourself. 5 things. Very important.
I love that.
I would love that, because consent is important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just important, it's necessary.
It's necessary.
Absolutely necessary.
Of sex therapy, safe, sane, consensual. If it meets those 3 things, we're all set. But I like to throw in the 4th, and you should also enjoy it.
I mean, I agree. It's supposed to be fun.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun. There's supposed to be this, not only this physical connection that obviously people think about, but there's this emotional connection. Being a super taboo show, surprise people, Tracie and I have had sex. We also have kids, so duh.
Oh my gosh.
We were not taught it was supposed to be fun. We were taught it was supposed to be about you make babies, and then when you realize, like, oh my God, this can actually be fun, you started, so much of the shame started to decrease.
Exactly. And it takes time. And I think it takes time, because so many people that are just like, I've never had an orgasm, that come in their 30s and 40s, sometimes 50s. And I'm like, that it's very normal. And they just don't know how. They don't feel they have permission. There's a lot of shame around it. So, and that breaks my heart.
Something that I thoroughly believe, and I actually saw this from some sex therapist, influencer or whatever, but it's so true. And I have said this to so many clients, is sex is a skill.
Yes, it is. It is a skill. And maybe instead of teaching abstinence when it's unreasonable, like, sure, abstinence in elementary school makes sense.
Absolutely.
In middle school, I feel like it still makes sense. But hey, you do.
I agree.
But, by the time people are in high school, forget it. Like, people are doing stuff. So what if we had relevant sex education? That would be nice. When I went to sex ed, it was all about abstinence. Don't do it. And then nothing bad happens. I'm like, okay, I guess that's it. That's the whole thing. You'll and to scare you. If you do it, you won't believe what will happen to you. Yeah.
Nothing bad happens except shame and emotional repression, but nothing else bad happens. In other words, and people need to realize that not only is sex a skill, like, it's something that you build over time. You kind of have to have a lot of it to be able to learn how to do it. It's not like, you just pick it up the first time and you're this massive porn star, which, by the way, like, is not an appropriate way for kids to learn, but you could teach sex at an age appropriate level.
Absolutely. Like, people should know that it can lead to pregnancy in certain situations. Teach the really relevant information. Teach, safe sex. Teach all of those, like, responsible sex and consensual sex. And then this is how your body works. I feel like some anatomy classes might be good for people. We don't do that. We learn a little maybe about, like, just real basic stuff, just like here. And it's more in a fear-based way that it's taught. That's what I don't like.
I agree. Now, I want to talk about just a little bit about us and the podcast. So what would you say, from your own perspective, what would you say is the real story, as if there's a fake one, the story behind why we're doing this?
Well, we should probably go back to you and I just sort of coexisting side by side without knowing each other, but, like, being very similar as humans, and then figuring that out, and then getting to know each other, like, in person. Like, fun fact, Krista and I see each other, like, approximately one time per year physically. Could be two if we happen to go to a second conference, but that barely happens.
I know.
And just knowing that we both really are open about taboo topics, we're passionate about it, but that we both are professional about it too. Like, we're not out there just trying to be sleazy or something like that. Like, we're actually interested in breaking stigmas around things that people find difficult to talk about. So if people could find this podcast and hear people talking about it in a non-stigmatizing way, and also without necessarily strong opinions one way or the other about some things maybe we're going to have strong opinions about, because we are very strong people. But yeah, just helping other people. And then some people, maybe you're already empowered and it's fabulous and you just want to hear other people talk about it and learn cool shit.
What do you hope people take away from this podcast?
I hope they take away, I think, the sort of bravery that it takes to show up. And well, and this is for people who want to do this, right? Like, I don't think everybody has to go out and advocate. Not everybody advocates the same way, but if you're like an advocate that can walk away from this and say, I'm going to start an uncomfortable conversation with somebody because I know that it's for the best in this situation, or I really want to know this, or I really want to share this about myself. Just that, taking that bravery and taking the shame and stigma out of it. I think that's probably, just feeling empowered, really.
Shattering the stigma. I don't know where I that phrase is like popping up in my mind. I don't know. It's like I'm
I
seeing
don't
it on your
know.
T-shirt or something. It's super weird.
It really does. It really does. They shattering the
Yeah,
stigma with the broken chain.
I love it. Now, who do you think won't like this show and stubble? Are we okay with that?
Easy. People who, number one, I'm going to answer these backward. Yes, we're okay
Okay.
with it. We don't care. Not because we don't care about those people, but just because we're
Mhm.
not, everybody can't cater to everybody. I
Absolutely.
don't crochet, okay? So I can't vibe on crocheting because I don't do it. But I forgot the question.
That's okay.
I forgot the first question because I only answered the second one.
That's okay. And you know what? That's going to happen because we're human beings and then, like, whatever.
We're imperfect. I love that.
Exactly. Who do you think will not like this show?
Oh, yes, the people who won't like this show, of course. I was like, we don't care. And then I got so fired up about we don't care if everybody doesn't like our stuff. But I forgot we don't even care if they don't like whatever it is that I forgot what it was. The people who will not like our shows probably are people, one, who this is not their jam. Maybe they're just not into it. They're just, I'm starting with least to most. They're the people who are just like, no, like I only like, I don't know, literary and musical arts, something like that. Great, this just isn't your thing. Two people that are maybe, I don't even want to say this word. What is this word? I'm going to change it. Sexually oppressed. There it is. The sexually oppressed, the maybe culturally oppressed, people who might be just generally oppressed. People who are too ashamed and embarrassed to listen to something like this, maybe they feel it's wrong. And then, of course, the people who are against it for what they would say are moral reasons, or, you know, maybe they think we're blasphemous or something in some way, or scrupulous. Yeah. Imagine us being scrupulous.
I think I am to a little extent.
Totally, 100%.
But also, I really, truly think we're living upon our values. And that's what is the most important thing. So what kind of conversations would you say that maybe not just as, you know, an OCD therapist, a sex therapist, but just as a human being, what kind of conversations are you tired of hearing about? And what do you think we might be doing differently?
Yes. I'm tired about hearing that other people I don't like it when other people try to control people's bodies and choices. I should throw that out there. I am a big believer that we should have agency over everything that has to do with us as a person and a human and an individual. So that is a conversation and a situation that I will always stand for. I'm also really tired of having the conversation about the glass ceiling that everybody knows exists, where people who identify as female get at least 30% less than other people who don't. It's like, how long do you have to talk about that before somebody just fixes it? It's like, we have a whole name for it. It's called the glass ceiling. Why do we have a whole name for it if it's a problem? Fix it, so then there won't be a ceiling. Don't make the ceiling. That conversation is annoying. And I don't like the conversation where people tell other people what to do with their kids. That also makes me nuts. Like, kids should be raised to ... No, your kids, you decide what to do with your kids. I'll do what I want with my kids.
Yeah.
Those are the conversations. And just like, stay out of my business and I'll stay out of your business. Like, I'm very much the kind of person that's like, listen, if you put my name in your mouth, make sure whatever it is you're saying that you would also say to my face, because I also stand by those rules. I'm not going to talk behind people's backs. I'm always going to be upfront. I'm known for being transparent. It makes me have very few friends, but the few friends I have are real.
So I love that. So how are we approaching these things differently? Not just the things you talked about, but just conversations in general. How are we approaching them differently?
I think you and I have conversations that are real, that are factual, and that leave room and openness for and a safe space to bring anything forward, whether it's something that we agree with, we don't agree with, we love it, we don't love it. I think we're both people that can have intelligible conversations with people, even if it's something that we are on maybe opposite sides of the table on.
I agree. I agree. I tell people all the time, as long as you're not hurting yourself, hurting somebody else, or hurting things, you do you, man. And I love that you were bringing up all these different kinds of conversations that you're sick of hearing about, because what I hear is like the common denominator of that is judgment. We
Yeah.
are, imposing our own values and morals to somebody else where they're different. Their narrative is entirely different than ours. And I entirely agree. And this is not why we're having this podcast. You and I have a lot in common, but you and I are also very different people. And we're going to disagree about particular things. But this is why we're here, is it's important to be able to talk about things and not be in an echo chamber.
I agree. I'm not the kind of person that's going to stand on a corner and yell at you that you should believe like me or you should think differently than you think.
Mm-hmm.
But I always like to have open, transparent, honest conversations with anybody who wants to have a conversation about it. And I'll share what I feel and you can share what you feel. And as long as nobody's trying to push their stuff, just so that people know, I'm not trying to push my stuff either. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where you and I are unique, that we're not like,
Agreed.
We're all in this one thing and we're just all, like a herd of cattle. Like, if you don't believe like us, then we don't like you and you're wrong. Like, I don't think people are right or wrong. They just are.
Yeah. It's okay to be different. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's not okay. It's not that it's just okay. It's normal. And it just is. We just are different. I'm curious, is there a topic, or maybe not just necessarily a topic, but anything that you are just like super jazzed and just like dying to explore in a future episode?
That's a great question. I mean, there's so many like different types of conversations that we're going to have that I have so many questions for so many people about.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness. Yeah, like my brain is like basically having a waterfall of ideas. It's just like I'm interested in talking to people who live different types of lifestyles than what the general population is living. And that means a lot of different things. I'm really also just people working in jobs that people are like, what is it like to be that person?
Yes, I agree 1,010%. I cannot wait to get to the different types of levels of employment that our society sees as being taboo, but but they're doing it, and some of them are having families and they might seem like the family next door, the American girl next door or whatever, but they're off doing this one thing that our society is like, don't do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I have friends that, like run a like sex workers sort of, I was going to say palace. It's more of a dungeon.
To be fair.
Yeah. To be fair, it's kind of a combination palace dungeon, but it's for people who want to do those types of things. And these are intelligent women. These are intelligent people. These are people who make good money doing honest labor. I've always been curious, like in people when there's like people who have the death penalty, like the person that's killing the person. I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, do you think about it? I also thought about that with firing squads, since there's several people and you don't know who did it. I'm like, how does that feel for each person? I'm just like, these are like wild out there jobs that most of us don't work. And I just want to be like, what is it like? Like, what is it like to be a death row inmate? What is it like to, I don't know, just so many, like to be somebody who works in the sewers.
Yeah. I love that you brought up like an executioner, because that's so true. I mean, that literally is this, like, you can't be the judge, the jury, and the executioner. Well, this is the executioner, and they are literally, like, their job is to take a life away. Yeah. And it is a legal job. I would love, gosh, like, you have my brain spinning with that one. So if you're an executioner and you don't mind being interviewed, contact us.
Or you used to be. Yeah.
Or you used to be.
Retired.
Absolutely. In fact, it probably might be a little bit better if they were retired, because so many of the laws have changed. The kind of stuff that they used to do versus the stuff they do now is, considered more quote unquote humane now, which
absolutely, which is a
all
whole conversation. Yeah, so many different things like that. Just there's so many different things that we could imagine, but lots of different jobs, lots of lots of different just lifestyles that people lead that people can consider taboo. There are cultural things that could be considered taboo. I mean, we could go on for...
Absolutely. Well, Tracie, my final question for you
Dun, dun.
is if this podcast could change one thing, thinking about culture, people, or even in yourself, what might it be?
You know, if it were my biggest, if I could just push a button and something was different, it would definitely be, it would be our culture, because our culture, even through the last few generations, I feel like we're getting away from a lot of things that are important, and focusing on things that we maybe are wasting time on when we could be focusing on other things that would improve us as a culture in general, as humans, as society, as neighbors, all of these sorts of things. I would hope to have some improvements in that area.
Yeah.
For people to feel empowered. I feel like so many people don't feel empowered who should be. So what I would say is to bring empowerment to the unempowered, and to knock some people off who have too much, and it's not helpful.
That's beautiful. I love that. Well, any final words of wisdom or whatever before we wrap this baby up?
Yeah, I'm going to say don't be afraid to ask questions and to hear the answers, and to feel okay doing it. Having those conversations and questions. Don't feel ashamed. Ask questions about anything, whatever it is.
I love it.
Ask questions of the right people and get your answers. Don't.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Well, to end the first show, and actually all the shows, we are going to conclude with one final taboo, or a taboo fact. We're going to end all of our shows with a taboo fact. And today's taboo fact will be sponsored by consent, because especially what you were mentioning in the beginning, that was not always a thing. And based upon what I'm about to show you now, it definitely was not a thing. And unfortunately, in some cultures, it's still not. So the fact is, in ancient Rome, sexual acts were judged more by social status and dominance than by gender or orientation. For instance, it wasn't considered shameful for a Roman man to have sex with another man as long as he was the penetrator and the other man was of lower status, like a slave or a prostitute. The stigma wasn't about homosexuality, it was about being penetrated, which was associated with submission and loss of masculine power. This made sexual morality more about power dynamics than gender preference, which is a huge difference than how it is today. And there is our, not sexual, there is our taboo fact. Well, it's a sexual taboo fact to end our first episode. And Tracie, this has been an absolute delight. Thank you a million times for being our own show's first guest.
Thank you for being our own show's amazing host. Hostess with the mostess, as some people
thank
say.
you.
Yay.
Thank you. Well, everybody, this has been a wonderful oh my gosh, I can't even talk. A wonderful first episode. Continue to talk taboo, not just to me, not just to Tracie, but all over, and we can absolutely shatter this stigma. So y'all have a beautiful day.
Yay.